The Blue Alpha Battle Belt Lite. Is it Gucci Gear Gotti or is it fashionably functional? Most importantly, does the plastic clip suck? Blue Alpha seemingly created this design for two reasons. One, I think it makes the front a little slicker, right? When you're crawling on your belly, you don't have as much up here to catch and drag apart. And then two, it makes it significantly easier to readjust through the belt. Because you just unvelcro something, you can do it while it's on your body and there's no fiddling with buckles. You just simply unvelcro it. I think that's a huge improvement over their last design, and I personally would like to see that put into their previous designs as an upgrade. I love the thinness of this belt. It is significantly thinner, it feels lighter, and it feels more agile. Blue Alpha says, in fact, that it's 40% lighter than their old belt design, and I think that's a major improvement. In my experience, I actually find that it's more stiff than their previous belt design, and that also is a great thing for distributing load on your hips. Now, this center section here, or what I'll call the core, is a 12-ply Tegris material, and Tegris has a lot of structural rigidity. The outer section is called Squadron, and it's wrapped around the Tegris, and then they've sewn in what I would say is like a Velcro center. And with all of that construction, it really does make for a very thin, very light, very stiff belt. Does the plastic clip suck? I'm gonna tell you. After 3 weeks of dry firing, taking the belt on and off, hitting the range a few times, and even hitting it in my car door, I decided to hit it with a grinder and some scissors and a hammer, and we all tried ripping this thing to pieces. And it really didn't have any issues. In fact, it still functions perfectly well, and it doesn't have hardly any damage to it. And you can't really see the damage that it does have to it because it's plastic and it absorbs it, and it doesn't turn bright silver whenever it does take some damage. And I think that's really nice. US-made companies have struggled to compete with the prices of imported-made belts. I think the Blue Alpha Battle Belt Lite really competes with this. At $150 for the technology that's in this belt, I think there's the quality, I think there's the value to compete with some of these overseas belts. Not only is this a great thing for our country, but it's also a great thing for the shooting industry, because this gives other textile manufacturers some implication of what can be accomplished on such a small budget. And I have to say, what they're doing here is truly impressive. So with all that praise, you might be thinking I'm not gonna say anything bad about this belt. And unfortunately, that's not true. I am gonna talk about some of the things that I don't really find amazing here. Now, because this is a laser cut Squadron and not a stitched on webbing, Squadron is stretchier than webbing. So even though I haven't seen any evidence of it right now, I think that perhaps we might find over time the Squadron stretches out a bit and causes things to become a little bit loose. Now, if you use clamp-on style belt attachments, this isn't gonna be an issue for you, but if you're using the weave-in MOLLE like channels, then this is gonna be a problem, or potentially a problem. I haven't seen much evidence of it now, and I frankly think it'll stretch to a limit and then stop. But I think this will be an issue to look for as a possible negative in the future. The second thing I also think is an issue is the MOLLE segments themselves. Because they're laser cut, they're very accurate, but for some reason I find that like my first position mag is very wobbly, but my second position mag is not, right? And it's noticeable. It's a huge difference in amount of wobble here. And I'm not sure what's causing that. It could just be my setup, but it also could be slight inconsistencies in how wide the stitching is, or where it's located on the belt, how much curvature there is. There's a lot of options here. But I didn't notice this in my last Blue Alpha belt, and perhaps I need to change some mags around. There could be ways for me to solve this issue, but it's something that needed to be addressed that I think you should look into. Even though I've had some bad things to say about this laser cut MOLLE, there are some really good things to mention about it as well. Because of the laser cut construction method, and you don't have to stitch thick webbing onto the belt, I find that it's really slick, and I really like how slick it is. It's also extremely easy to put my components onto the belt because you just reverse bend it and then you're able to slide stuff through. And I think that's fantastic. Also, it fits the tack trap really well. And because of that, I love it. This belt has an MSRP of $149.97. And from what I can tell, Blue Alpha is looking to do an early adopter sale for $129.97. And I think that's a really nice thing for the people who are willing to take a bit of a risk. Go check out their Blue Alpha belt early before all the reviews come out. And I think that's a nice thing for a company to do, is offer an early adopter sale. So instead of 150 bucks, you can now get it for 130. So other things to note here is that Blue Alpha is planning on releasing this in 8 colorways, which is sweet because we know how important it is to match our belt with all of our other Gucci gear, so people think that we're awesome on the range. And if Braden's nice, he'll put up all the 8 colorways somewhere on the screen here, and you can see what's gonna be coming out. Blue Alpha is also planning on letting you buy this belt, and instead of the awesome plastic clip that I just described, you can get the old GT Cobra buckles that are US made. It's just gonna cost a little more because those buckles are not cheap. So that will be an option to purchase as well, and you'll have to keep your eyes out for that. This new lightweight buckle is streamlined design and it's rigid core. I think this belt is a steal at the price, so go check it out.